and 2, which is thinking about working in and leading across clusters. And we're happy to record. Thank you very much. So for this section, then, we're briefly going to consider, as I said, leading and working in clusters. So the Education Endowment Foundation in 2021 suggested that there are all sorts of different terms used to describe collaborative activity in practice between practitioners in settings including partnership, network, cluster, family, for example, and that these terms may be used interchangeably to describe different ways of education settings working with one another, suggests that collaboration between settings is complex and may encompass a range of different types of both informal and formal collaborative activity, and may, as you noted in your stakeholders, involve practitioners in settings of different phases and types as well. These collaborations then may take different forms and may be used to support a range of practices, as we noted earlier, including resource efficiency, supporting the curriculum and pedagogy, and supporting learners with ALN. So effective clusters are seen to be supported by a number of features which might include strong leadership, well-defined and robust structures and processes, clear communication, and sensitivity to context. And there have been seen to be a range of benefits associated with such cluster working practices, including improved services, mutual support between organisations, more efficient use of existing resources, sharing of best practice, an increase in capacity to replicate success, and also increase in capacity resilience. Despite the potential benefits of this way of working, however, cluster working can be difficult to embed and maintain and sustain in practice, and there are a range of potential barriers and challenges which might include threats or perceived threats to school autonomy, for example, power imbalances between settings, additional workload associated with supporting such collaborative activity, and challenges to establishing shared objectives and common goals. Whilst cluster working has been more recently supported, it's certainly not new, with Harris and Spillane, for example, highlighting the emergence of collaboration with and networking between schools and stakeholders back in 2008. And Stoll back in 2015, extolling the benefits of such approaches on practitioner engagement, motivation and professional development, and in facilitating inquiry-based approaches to informing practice in schools. So in both their 2023 and 2024 reviews of the implementation of the ALN reforms, Estin have identified the importance of and benefits of cluster work and collaboration, for example, in sharing practice and specialist resources. They identify that they support professional development and support school improvement, and that particular roles, such as having a cluster ALNCO or IDP champions, which have been in place in some local authorities in Wales, were seen as being particularly effective. However, despite extolling the virtues and effectiveness of this way of working, they did note one key word of caution, where they have questioned whether such clusters and cluster working is sustainable in practice, as noted a few moments ago in relation to workloads, time, resources, and the ability to facilitate cluster working, for example. So in a few moments' time, we're going to try going back into a second breakout room. And just to set the context of this one a little bit as well, we've already started to consider some of the barriers that might impede effective collaboration, especially when this includes practitioners from across professions and organisations, such as differences in professional terminology, funding, differences in perceived status, for example, management arrangements or workload. And that effective collaboration may be supported by effective networking, which can be defined as a set of actors connected by a series of ties, which can be more or less formal in nature. Again, as you said earlier on, one of the key reasons for trying to facilitate these breakout room discussions is to give you the opportunity to network and share practice and experiences with each other, even though it's in an informal sense. So in our second breakout room then, I think we've spent quite a bit of time this morning identifying those particular barriers. What we're going to ask you to do now then is to, rather than focus on barriers, is to first of all identify what different types of ways of working are available to you in your setting. So whatever terminology you might be using or is used in your setting, first of all, we'd like you to think a little bit about what cluster working or networking or collaboration opportunities are available to you. So these could be sort of internal within your setting, but equally they might be moving externally within the wider professional community or local communities. Secondly, we'd like you to think a little bit about how such ways of working could be effectively developed and maintained. So as we mentioned a few moments ago, Estin noted the challenge in maintaining and sustaining this way of work. Do you have any particular thoughts as to how such working could be developed and supported, maintained, sustained going forward? And the final thing we'd ask you to think about in this task is how might these ways of working effectively support the role on the ALN Co? So what impact might these ways of working have on practice? So again, there is a Padlet that we would ask someone from the group to post to. We're going to give you another 10 minutes or so to have those discussions. I appreciate there's 3 things there to try and discuss within that 10-minute time frame. So as ever, we're doing those things that teachers do, which is give you a task and not enough time to do it. And then we're going to bring you back for some verbal feedback as to those discussions again, if that's okay. So I'll just leave that slide up there for another 20 seconds or so in case you need to take a picture of the QR code to be able